Welcome back to the Enlightened Path Podcast. This is episode 4, and today I feel called to talk about emotions, feelings, sensations, all of that. That experience that we have as humans where we feel things, and how does that affect our experience of our life as a human? And there are so many places we could go with this. And so when I come in to do any kind of podcast or recording that I'm sharing with the world, I really just follow what I'm inspired to share. I don't make an outline. I don't think about logic or even asking like I used to. I used to be very focused on, well, what do people most need to hear? Instead, I just follow what inspires me, and often that's related to what I'm going through or what I'm feeling. And then I just trust it's going to reach people who need to hear it, to help them in some way. And so the reason I bring that up is because so often we're following with wonderful intentions. There's nothing bad or wrong with following what do others need and how can I help? Because certainly so many of us are helpers, healers, right, in that category. But I can speak for myself. I was often, and I'm still working on, not ignoring or neglecting myself to be there for others. So if that resonates with you, I just invite you to really give yourself this space to really just be present. Be present with right where you're at. You'll hear whatever you need in this moment in time or these moments that I'm sharing this podcast or anything else that you tune into. And emotions, feelings, they come right in to this area of focus on yourself. If we're in our head thinking about what we need to get done for the day, we might be having some sensations in our body. For me, it shows up as tension, anxiousness, feeling pressure. I feel like this sense of pressure that I should be doing more and things like that. And today in particular, before, I was really excited to make this podcast. I'm always excited to make it when I go to sit down, to do it. And I was feeling like I should, because it's been a week about since I posted the last one, and I'm like, well, I don't want to let people down, or anyone who's following maybe looks forward to it, whatever. And I'm like, that's not the helpful focus at all. And I was wanting, the part of me, the ego, the mind, whatever, wanted to prioritize the action of doing this before I sat and connected with myself with some quiet time that I'm now making time for more and more. Because I'm noticing what happens and what I feel when I'm not connected. I get to the end of my day, if I haven't really connected, I feel like I'm aware and in tune, but not always in the most expansive. Not that it's a way, but the parts of me that want what they want, that seems like a part of me that I'm not accessing, like, my soul, my intuition, what's for my highest good. If I'm in my head, while that is part of me and can be connected to that, that's not always what's running for me anyway. So not being tuned in for most of the day with what we're doing, we're not connected with who we are and just the being in the experience of me, whatever me is. So when we look at emotions, feelings, and there are differences, because when I say emotions, we don't have to name what we're feeling. That's been encouraged a lot in various teachings. And can it be helpful and beneficial? Yes. I have, did that for years, whether it was in my own therapy or whatever. But what tends to happen is we notice we're feeling an emotion that, let's say I'll call sadness. And then what often will come right in with that is why I'm sad. And then we're often running with the story. And then that can like shift into blame and focusing on the cause as though there's a cause for the sadness. And then we're off into that caused that is because of that person did that, or I experienced this thing. And emotions such as sadness are about the past. And there can certainly be, I think, a buildup in the body of stored, some might call it trapped emotions that never get acknowledged without the story. And it can bring in such other experiences in the body of helplessness, powerlessness, feeling like I'm being controlled, or a prisoner to these feelings. They're just feelings. Now, feelings, another word for feelings could be sensations. And I've been playing with this a lot lately about feeling a sensation in my body. There are times where I will label or name something as an emotion. And now, side note, right, I'll go back to the story for a second. I can be aware of the story attached to it, but from more of an observer while also feeling what I feel. It takes a bit of practice, and it's not something to perfect, or you can't get it wrong. But if we're overcome by the emotions, not having what I like to call and others may call loving awareness, that it's okay to feel. So there's someone that I, whose work I love, his name is Kyle Cease. And if you've never seen him, if you like what I'm saying, I highly recommend you look him up. He's on YouTube. He's got all kinds of wonderful stuff. He's got a membership you can do. And he has an expression where he says, you're allowed to feel, like saying this to self, you're allowed to feel shame in my body. You're allowed to feel sadness in my body. Giving yourself permission, loving that part of you. Not that there's parts. Some of this, don't take it necessarily literally. You could take or leave. But sometimes the language, sometimes words are hard to capture, to use to capture some of this. But to honor whatever feelings come up. That it's more than just okay that they're coming up. If they're coming up, don't they need something? Don't you need something in reference to them coming up? And by the way, there's nothing to fix. So if you feel sad, it's interesting, right? Because there's the different experiences of emotions. Sadness compared to shame. Now, shame is inherent judgment about self. It's probably one of the most very painful experiences because it isn't just an emotion. It's way beyond, and it's not like we all have the same sensations that we feel in our body related to different emotions. But shame so has a story about how, guilt is I've done something wrong. Shame is I'm wrong, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me, inherent in it. And shame has a history. Like shame can typically goes back to childhood. And it is not the truth of who we are. It is a story that got created. Because another thing that Kyle C says is we're a character. It's like we're a character in a movie or a play character, the part of us that's a character is looking outside of ourselves for direction, for approval, for guidance, to do the right thing and all these things. And we created the character to survive childhood. And when I say survive, I'm using that very loosely. A lot of people have a lot of significant trauma, and that survival is a different level and intensity and all that than what all humans, my sense is that all humans go through a sense of surviving, wanting to be loved and accepted, and altering our behavior to match or meet the expectations. That's what I mean when I say a character that we're playing. So then for those of us with awareness that we're in an awakening journey, awakening to what I call the truth of me. My identity is not doing things, making choices, behaviors to get approval. That still comes up sometimes, but it's no longer running all the time, because that was me. You can call it, like labels just to make a point, people pleasing, people who are empaths, who feel their emotions really intensely as well as others. We really get caught up in, we want to make sure everyone else is okay. And what we don't really realize, and I can speak, of course, for myself, I didn't realize I did that so I could feel okay. Not because I'm a martyr and I care so much about other people. That was my purpose for a long time. Neglecting myself over and over and over and over, and go figure why I'll never feel good enough. How can I ever feel good enough chasing and doing instead of being? So emotions are our gauge. They are meant to be felt and experienced. They are not meant to be ignored. And any of you that are going through or have gone through imbalances in your body, health issues and whatnot, I have found, and I have listened to countless others who have come to the awareness that physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, first of all, it's all connected. And for me, all the ignoring and pushing down of emotions and really, really being there for myself and listening manifested in my physical body as irritable bowel syndrome, as adrenal fatigue, as anxiety, as insomnia. It's all connected. And I chased these solutions, and there are times, yes, we need to go to the doctor. This is not me saying don't go take care of your physical body with whatever you need to do. But if you find that after going through all the steps, so for me, I'll give a quick share here about this. So I was so severely ill with what the doctors kept calling irritable bowel syndrome. I couldn't eat. I lost 10 pounds and I didn't have that to lose. It was really scary. Get my blood work checked eventually. I'm sensitive to all these foods. And the reality was my body was like, I was in a fear response and my body couldn't take in any food. But the food wasn't the problem. But I kept looking for what's the problem so I could fix it. There were no pills that would work. And none of the diagnostic stuff showed I was even very ill. And I was so physically ill. And so I ended up with like acupuncture. I looked to alternative stuff. That is how I healed. Initially, acupuncture brought me out of that like acute phase state. But that still wasn't getting to the core, of what was, if there is such a thing as a cause, that couldn't get to the actual cause. Because most things you have to keep like maintaining. But for me, it was about like stress in my body because I wasn't connecting with myself and acknowledging what I was feeling. And I was go, go, go. I was high achiever, working 8 hours a day in a school environment that I just found really stressful. The requirements of the job just were so unreasonable and unrealistic. And I think, it was my body's way of going, hey, wake up. And then I eventually left that, got into working for myself as an entrepreneur, which was always my dream, but fear was stopping me. That's a story for another time. So when I became so aware, and I went to a wonderful osteopathic physician in the town where I live, and he looked at me and he's like, this is not about it's not about the food. And he helped me understand the term he used was, this is a mind-body issue. And what I left with was, and he said, quit worrying about what you're eating, all those things. And I knew it was safe for me to do that. Like, I just knew. Because you got to follow what you feel is, right and good for you. Because sometimes just stopping all treatment isn't safe. I really wasn't doing any treatment because nothing was helping me. So he told me to read, there's a book by Dr. John Sarno. Actually, he had several books. He has passed away, but he speaks to this mind-body syndrome, so to speak. And the principles of it, for me at the time, was to get out of fear. I was so afraid of eating. Well, when my belief shifted and I started to do some other there were some, techniques and things like that. I like the EFT tapping to connect with what I'm feeling, because it helps, gets it kind of like acupuncture, right? So like all these things, like we can get some help in our body to help us sit with what we're feeling. When we're so scared, sometimes we'll just keep avoiding it, and that perpetuates the problem. So it's got to be tolerable and manageable. Well, within like 3 weeks, my symptoms started to subside, and I didn't let myself go back into the story. Like, it took a lot of awareness, a lot of caring about myself, and treating myself like I matter. It doesn't matter that I try to keep achieving in that job and taking care of others. I matter so much that I got to come first to heal. And I had taken time off from work and all these things, and the guilt that went with that. It was all to get my attention as part of the journey of being a human. There's nothing bad or wrong with what we experience and what we feel. But if we keep judging it and pushing it down, it does not go away, and it'll keep coming back with a vengeance. By the way, there is a little technique, isn't really the right word, but there's a piece that I did on my Instagram, and it's at my name with an underscore, and it's just in writing, and so there's just some slides, and so it gives you the steps to do that. It can be very short, acknowledging what you feel, allowing it to be there. And then I have some videos here on my YouTube channel too, where I go into that as well. Because I think it's so important that not only to hear someone like me talk about all this, your conscious mind is hearing it, but it's another thing to embody and actually experience doing the thing that you're now learning about, whether it's learning for the first time or you're being reminded of this. And so it's really easy to press play, especially on a podcast, and listen and go, oh yeah, it sounds good. And sometimes we're not ready. We might not be ready to take the next step and really go into embodying and feeling. And that's okay, because you'll do it when you're ready. There's no shoulds. However, I do want to share that is what's really helped me. That being said, us humans do not, and this is me coming from my own experience, friends in my life, family, whoever, as well as clients over the 16 years that I've been working with people, is that, boy, we just won't often stop and make the decision to embark on that, journey of change, transformation, whatever, until we are suffering so profusely that we can't do it anymore. Because that's the mind running the show. That's the human aspect of us that is, again, looking to the outside world, and we're not going to stop. We're going to go. And then when you start really getting connected, especially if your body's giving you some cues and signals and things like that, then when you connect to your intuition, higher self, higher consciousness, divine, God, whatever, like, we're not alone. So the power of coming back into connection, because we're living in separation when we're in stress and discomfort and all of that, that is part of the journey. It's not about don't do that and that's wrong and get away from that. However, those of us, wherever we're at in our awakening process, it's different for everybody. Some people may live this whole human lifetime that they're in, not even tuning in to directly or knowingly to what we might refer to as higher consciousness, soul, spirit, like that we're not alone, all that kind of stuff. And so we're all at where we're at. So we're not all meant to. So I really believe, again, that people who need to see and hear this will, at just the right timing, whether they're ready to take any action or not. This is what so tremendously helped me when I was struggling so much and not even having a direct awareness. I am higher consciousness. I am not just a human here to get things done and achieve and all of the things. I just always knew something was missing. I could not name it. I just didn't feel like enough. I just didn't feel fully fulfilled. And I still have days where I don't. I go in and out of that. It's not about, trying to maintain that all the time either. So I just invite you, take or leave anything about this, and you discern for yourself what feels like truth. No one else knows that for you or for anyone else. We don't. When you seek out any kind of guidance or support, working or accessing someone or information, whatever it is, that is not going to tell you what you need to do with the steps. And if you don't do it, you're not going to have the transformation you want. That kind of like language. I just think just sharing our stories, but not from the place of just repeating our experiences, especially of trauma. It doesn't help us to relive, but showing up in your life in any moment and going, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling. And knowing you're not alone, being there for yourself and not just primarily going outside of self to get comfort from others. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've been taught that that's honestly what we should do. And it is part of being human, that social and connection and all of that. Absolutely. But what often happens is it's a outside of self type of experience and nurturing. And often we might feel better in those moments. And then when we're alone again, it's like, oh boy, here I am again. Here I am. I'm still feeling this, whatever. Because we're not going there to be for ourselves. For me, that's what was certainly missing, as well as what I now know is my awakening journey as a soul here in a human body. To have a journey of expansion that's unique for me. And that's beautiful. So thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to comment, ask questions if there's certain topics and things that you want me to explore. Happy to consider that. And I really do hope you're having a lovely day. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.